The human who wouldn't die. Daniel Martinez never thought his life would end on the cold metal floor of a place he didn't even recognize. The air around him smelled sharp, too clean, almost like he was breathing inside a machine. His vision kept blurring in and out, and every time he blinked, he felt like he was falling deeper into darkness. Blood from his wounds formed a small pool under his body, warm against the freezing tiles beneath him. His ship had been attacked only hours ago, ripped apart by Zephyrian pirates, who showed no mercy and no hesitation. They wanted cargo, not survivors, and Daniel had barely escaped in a damaged escape pod before drifting unconscious into the void. When he woke, he found himself here inside a bright chamber that looked nothing like any human medical room he'd ever seen. He tried to move, but his body screamed in protest, a deep pain spreading through his ribs and legs. That didn't stop him from muttering a weak joke, because that was the only thing Daniel could still control. "Well, this is perfect," he whispered, his voice dry and shaky. "Bleeding out in a mystery space hospital. Exactly how I planned my day." The joke sounded small in the huge room, swallowed by the soft hum of strange alien machines. His pulse slowed, his breathing grew heavier, and he closed his eyes, thinking this might really be the end. Then, a sound changed everything. The door behind him hissed open, a slow, sharp breath of air that made Daniel force his eyes open again. He expected a robot, maybe another pirate, or something deadly. But the figure that stepped inside made him forget his pain for a moment. She was tall, almost 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver blue. 4 long arms hung at her sides, moving with a soft, graceful rhythm. Glowing markings ran along her neck and shoulders, shifting gently like drifting lights underwater. Her large opal eyes held an intelligence so deep that Daniel felt like she could see through every lie, every joke, every piece of fear he tried to hide. She studied him quietly for a moment before speaking. "Human," she said, and her voice sounded like soft wind chimes. "You are severely injured." Daniel tried to smirk, even though the pain made his head spin. "Yeah, well, pirates aren't really known for their kindness." He tried to sit up, but failed, collapsing back onto the floor with a painful groan. The alien woman moved with surprising speed and knelt beside him, all 4 hands working at once. She touched his arm gently, and even that small touch felt cool and soothing against his burning skin. "I am Liara," she said while examining his wounds with strange tools that looked more like shining pieces of art than surgical instruments. "Chief Medical Officer of Station, Kalis Tessa." Daniel swallowed hard, trying to understand her words. "Daniel, professional disaster magnet," he muttered, still trying to joke through the pain. Liara looked at him with an unreadable expression, but Daniel saw something that almost looked like amusement flicker in her bright eyes. "Your species responds to trauma with humor," she noted softly. "Interesting." Her hands moved with steady expertise as she applied a glowing liquid to his skin. The substance sank into his wounds like light melting into flesh, and the pain slowly eased. Daniel stared at her, amazed. "That stuff works fast. What is it?" Liara didn't look up. "A regenerative compound. But it is not enough. Your body is shutting down, and you have lost too much blood." A quiet hesitation entered her voice for the first time. "There is only one way to save your life." Daniel forced himself to meet her eyes. "Okay. What's the catch?" Liara took a slow breath, her glowing markings shifting softly. "The healing I must perform will create a biological link between us. It will bind your life force to mine. Our bodies will synchronize. You will not survive without me, and I will not survive without you." Daniel blinked, unsure if he heard correctly. "And you can actually do that?" Liara nodded once. "It is part of my role, part of what I was born for." The idea sounded impossible, unreal, almost unbelievable, but his body was fading fast, and he didn't have many choices left. His chest ached. Darkness crept into his vision again, and he felt a strange coldness spreading through his limbs. "Well," he whispered with a weak smile, "guess I'm really out of options." Liara placed all 4 of her hands on his chest, her movements gentle yet firm. "Do not be afraid," she murmured. Then Daniel felt something unlike anything he had ever known. A warm surge flowed from her touch into his body, light, heat, energy, life. His heartbeat stumbled, then steadied. His breath returned. His vision cleared. The connection between them grew stronger, deeper, almost like a second heartbeat inside his chest, one that did not belong to him. But before he could speak, Liara leaned close, her voice barely a whisper. "The process has begun," she said softly. "Your life is now tied to mine." Daniel's eyes widened as he felt the truth of those words in every part of his body. And in that moment, he understood. He was no longer dying, but he was no longer alone. "Why?" Her touch burns like fire. Daniel woke slowly, as if rising from underwater, feeling every breath settle inside his chest. Not as his own, but mixed with something else. Something steady, calm, and strangely warm. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. The ceiling above him glowed softly with shifting blue light, and the hum of alien machines echoed through the room like a smooth heartbeat. But then the truth hit him like a shock. He could feel another heartbeat inside his mind, gentle but strong, beating in perfect rhythm with his own. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't a thought. It was a presence, a living pulse tied to his very being. He turned his head and found Layara sitting beside the healing bed, her silver blue skin shimmering under soft lights. Her glowing patterns were dimmer than before, almost like she was tired. She watched him with those incredible opal eyes, eyes that held both knowledge and something he couldn't understand yet. "You regained consciousness sooner than expected," she said softly. "Your human biology adapts differently." Daniel tried to sit up, but a wave of heat rushed through him. Not pain, not fear, but something like fire under his skin. He gasped and instinctively grabbed the edge of the bed. Layara immediately reached forward, her 4 hands steadying him, and the heat inside him shifted, settling into a softer warmth. As soon as she touched him, he felt the world stabilize again. What was that?" Daniel whispered, confused and a little scared. Layara lowered her gaze. "The bonding process is still stabilizing. Your nervous system is syncing with mine. If we are apart, your body becomes unstable." She hesitated, her voice dropping even quieter. "And so does mine." Daniel stared at her, shocked. "So you're saying you feel everything I feel?" She nodded. "At the moment, yes. Your emotions echo into my mind. Your fear, your confusion, even your stubborn humor." She paused, and a faint glow flickered across her markings. "It is overwhelming. Humans feel so loudly." Daniel let out a weak laugh. "Yeah, emotions are kind of our thing." Layara watched him for a long moment, studying him like she was trying to understand a puzzle. "Your humor confuses me," she admitted. "When you were dying, you joked. When you were afraid, you joked. Now you are in pain, and still you joke. Why?" Daniel looked away, his voice softer now. "Because if I don't laugh, I start thinking. And when I start thinking, I start panicking. Laughing helps me breathe." He swallowed, remembering years of using humor to survive the hardest moments of his life. "It's how humans stay brave." Layara's eyes softened, and Daniel felt a wave of emotion, not his own brushing against his mind. It was a mix of curiosity and something sad, something lonely, something she had carried inside herself long before he arrived. "My people do not understand fear like humans do," she said quietly. "We are created for roles. We serve our function. We do not joke. We do not hide our fears, because we are not allowed to have them." Her voice shook slightly, and Daniel felt the tremble inside himself too, the bond sharing her emotions with him. He reached out without thinking and placed a hand on her arm. Immediately the bond reacted, warmth spreading through both of them like a single shared breath. Layara inhaled, startled, but she didn't move away. Instead, she stared at his hand, then at his face, as if trying to understand why a human would touch her so gently. "You're not alone anymore," Daniel said quietly. But before Layara could answer, a deep alarm blared through the station. The room shifted from blue to bright red as warning lights flashed across the walls. Daniel felt Lyra's fear spike sharp and cold, and through their bond, it stabbed into his chest like a blade. She stood quickly, all 4 arms ready, her eyes narrowing with sudden intensity. "The Zephyrian pirates," she said. "They found the station." Daniel tried to stand but collapsed halfway, the bond pulling him down, as if his body recognized that he wasn't supposed to be far from her. Layara instantly caught him, supporting him with ease. Her voice shook, not with fear, but with something protective, something that made Daniel's heart beat faster. "You cannot walk alone," she said. "Where I go, you must go. Our lives are tied now." She pulled him close, 1 arm around his back, the others ready to strike. Daniel barely had time to breathe before the door behind them rattled violently, metal warping under force from the outside. The pirates were breaking in. Daniel whispered, "Layara, will we survive this?" Layara looked down at him, her glowing markings brightening like rising flames, her voice becoming a low, fierce whisper. "I will not let them take you." Daniel felt his own heartbeat merge with hers, stronger, faster, louder, and in that moment he knew something with absolute certainty. She wasn't just healing him, she wasn't just protecting him. She was bonded to him, and she would fight the universe itself to keep him alive. "She fights like a goddess for me?" The metal door shook again, harder this time, making the entire room tremble. Dust fell from the ceiling, as the locking bolts strained against the force, hitting them from the outside. Daniel clung to Layara's arm, every breath heavy, every heartbeat echoing through the strange bond that tied them together. He could feel her emotions inside his chest, a storm of focus, fear, determination, and something fierce that pulsed like fire. She was not just protecting him out of duty. The connection between them ran deeper now, like two lives sharing the same pulse. Liara stepped forward, placing Daniel behind her, her tall body shielding him completely. Her forearms spread out, positioning themselves with the smooth, sharp elegance of a warrior who had been trained since birth. Daniel noticed that her glowing markings were no longer soft and gentle. They were bright, burning like molten light under her skin, alive with a type of energy he had never seen. She was ready to fight, and the enemy breaking through that door had no idea what they were about to face. The door finally tore open, and 3 Zephyrian pirates charged in. Their armor was dark, jagged, covered in spikes. Their 4 glowing red eyes scanned the room instantly, landing on Daniel before anything else. "There he is," one of them snarled. "The human survivor, take him." Daniel's stomach dropped, but before he could move, Liara stepped forward with a speed that stunned him. She didn't run, she glided, her movements so fluid and fast that they looked unreal. In one smooth motion, 2 of her arms reached out to block a pirate's blade, while her other 2 hands struck the second pirate with such force that he flew backward into the wall. Daniel had seen human soldiers fight before, but nothing, absolutely nothing, came close to the grace and power she showed. She moved like a goddess carved out of living starlight, every strike precise, every motion controlled. Daniel felt every surge of her adrenaline through the bond, his chest burning, his breath quickening, as if he were fighting beside her even though his body couldn't keep up. The third pirate charged her from behind, but Daniel felt Liara's instinct through the bond a split second before she turned. She spun, her lower pair of arms forming a defensive arc, and the pirate's weapon bent on impact, as if hitting a force field. She grabbed him by the throat with her upper arms and slammed him to the ground, her expression sharp and protective. The pirates weren't ready for that. Daniel wasn't ready for that. He stared with wide eyes, his breath shaking. "Liara, how did you—" But before he could finish, she staggered. A sharp pain shot through Daniel's ribs at the same moment, knocking the air out of him. The bond hit both of them like an electric shock. Liara clutched her chest, her eyes widening in surprise. Something was wrong. Daniel felt heat spreading through his veins, too hot, too fast, like his body was absorbing something it couldn't understand. "Liara, what's happening?" he gasped. Liara pressed a hand to her heart, her glow flickering. "Your body, it is fighting the bond. Human biology is unstable during early synchronization." She sank to one knee, the light from her markings dimming as if someone had turned down a switch inside her. Daniel dropped beside her, without meaning to their bodies, reacting as one. For a moment, Daniel forgot the pirates entirely. He placed his hand on her shoulder, and the sensation that hit him was overwhelming, her fear mixing with his, her pain blending with his breath, her heartbeat sinking desperately to steady his. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you must stay calm. If your emotions spike again, it will damage both of us." He looked into her eyes and saw something he had not expected. Not strength, not confidence, but genuine fear. Not fear of the pirates, fear of losing him. "You saved my life," Daniel said, breathing hard. "Now let me help you." Liara shook her head weakly. "It does not work that way. I am the healer. I am the one who supports the bond." Her voice grew softer. "But your mind, it is loud, too human. It overloads the link." Another wave of pain hit them both at once, forcing Daniel's vision to blur. He leaned closer, lowering his forehead to hers without thinking. The moment their skin touched, the pain dropped sharply, like someone had cut it in half. Liara gasped softly, startled by the sudden relief. "The contact stabilizes us," she whispered. "Your mind quiets when you touch me." Daniel had no idea why, but he didn't question it. He kept his forehead against hers, feeling their breaths mix, feeling her heartbeat inside his chest as if it belonged there. Gradually her glow returned, faint but steady, but the moment of peace ended too quickly. Another alarm blared through the station, and the lights turned purple, a deeper warning. Liara's eyes widened in shock. "That signal," she whispered. "The pirates are not here for you." Daniel felt her fear spike again through the bond. "Then who?" Liara looked toward the broken door, her expression tightening with a truth she didn't want to speak. "They are here for me." Daniel felt a chill run through him. Why would pirates come for a healer? Liara slowly rose to her feet, her forearms trembling slightly as her markings brightened again. "Because I am not just a healer," she said softly. "I am something far more valuable." Daniel swallowed hard. "Liara, what are you?" She finally looked at him, with eyes full of secrets she had kept her entire life. "I am the last royal healer of my species," she whispered. "And pirates cross galaxies to claim me. The marriage joke that became sacred." Daniel stared at Liara as her confession settled into the air, like a heavy shadow. The last royal healer of her species. Not just a nurse, not just a medic, but the one being the pirates would cross galaxies to capture. He felt the truth sink into his bones. Through the bond, her fear, her loneliness, her duty. It hit him like a wave he couldn't escape from, because the bond carried everything. She felt straight into his chest. Lyra stepped away from him, her long limbs trembling, her markings glowing bright with stress. She was trying to stay strong, but the bond made it impossible to hide anything from him. Lyra, Daniel said softly, why didn't you tell me? Her eyes lowered. Because if you knew the value of my existence, you might have regretted the bond. She hesitated, her voice cracking ever so slightly. I did not want you to see me as a burden. Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but the station shook violently, throwing both of them to the ground. Panels sparked, lights flickered, and the hum of the station changed pitch deeper, angrier. The pirates were getting closer, and they were no longer hiding their intention. Lyra's voice turned sharp. They will break through every level, searching for me. She looked at him with desperate intensity. You must go. You must hide. Daniel laughed not because he thought it was funny, but because fear always made him do something stupid. Hide? I can barely walk without collapsing. And you? Without me? You'll lose the bond. And Lyra pressed all four of her hands to his chest at once. He felt her emotions crash into him: fear, protectiveness, devotion. Daniel, she whispered, I will not allow you to die for me. Daniel stared at her glowing eyes, feeling something heavy and impossible forming between them. Something that wasn't just biological, something emotional. He tried to break the tension the only way he knew. He forced a smile, even though his heart felt like it was breaking. Well, he said, if we're stuck together forever, I guess that makes us married, right? He expected her to roll her eyes. He expected her to sigh or scold him. But Lyra froze, completely. Her markings flared a deep, bright silver that he had never seen before, washing the whole room in shimmering light. Her breathing quickened, her eyes widened, and her four hands tightened against his chest. Daniel, she whispered, her voice shaking. In my culture, such words are not humor. Daniel blinked. What? I was just... No. She stepped even closer. A life vow joke is the highest ritual phrase. It activates a bond ritual older than my entire species' history. You have offered me the sacred union. Daniel's mouth went dry. I didn't mean. Her hands lifted to his face, all four palms cupping his cheeks, her glow surrounding him like a soft fire. He couldn't move, he couldn't breathe. And through the bond, he felt her heart racing, trembling, opening. If you proclaim such a vow, she whispered, you become mine, and I become yours. Fully. Forever. No breaking, no separation, no death without the other. Daniel's brain stalled. Wait. Are we talking about actual marriage? Lyra's eyes lowered to his lips. Yes. A sacred joining. Our species' closest form of love. Daniel swallowed. Hard. The room felt too small, too bright, too alive. He felt his heart racing, and Lyra felt it through the bond, her breath catching. I didn't know, he murmured. You spoke the vow, she whispered, leaning closer until he could feel her breath. My markings reacted. The ritual has begun. Daniel panicked. How do I stop it? Lyra shook her head slowly. You cannot. Her voice lowered to a whisper that crawled across his skin. You belong to me now. If your vow was true. Daniel's heart thundered so hard it hurt. He wasn't sure if the pain was physical or emotional or from the bond tightening around his soul. Every instinct screamed that he should say something, anything, but his throat refused to work. Lyra leaned even closer, her forehead touching his. Her voice was a breath of hot air against his lips. But if the vow was made in fear or confusion, she whispered, it could kill us both. Daniel felt ice rush through his veins. What do you mean? The ritual tests the truth of your heart, she said. If you lied, the bond collapses and destroys both our bodies. The station shook again, louder, closer, but neither of them moved. The danger outside felt small compared to the storm burning between them. Daniel, Lyra whispered, her eyes glowing like stars. Did you mean the vow? Daniel felt the weight of the universe pressing down on him, because he now understood. One honest answer could save both of them. One wrong answer could end them instantly. And he had no time to think, because the pirates finally broke through the next door. The truth they hid from her since birth. The blast door shattered inward with a force that shook the entire medical wing. Metal flew like broken glass, sparks burst across the walls, and a wave of hot air rushed into the room as Zephyrian pirates stormed through, their armor clanging like jagged thunder. Daniel's heart pounded so loudly that he couldn't tell which heartbeat was his anymore, his or Lyra's. The bond twisted inside his chest, tightening with fear, pulling at every emotion, every thought. Liara stepped in front of him again, her towering body glowing brighter, her forearms spreading out like protective silver wings. She was breathing fast, but not with panic, with determination. Yet Daniel felt the truth inside her through the bond. She wasn't afraid of the pirates. She was afraid of him giving the wrong answer. Afraid the sacred vow he spoke, even as a joke, might kill them both if it wasn't spoken from the heart. But the pirates were not waiting. "Royal Healer," one of them shouted, his voice booming and filled with triumph. "We finally found you." The words hit Daniel harder than the explosion. Royal Healer, the last one. A living treasure, worth more than entire planets. Lyra's markings dimmed with shame, and the bond trembled with a pain deeper than any wound. Daniel felt it travel through him like a cold stab. She had not chosen this life, she had been created for it. "Daniel," she whispered sharply, not taking her eyes off the pirates, "move back." He tried, but the bond pulled at him like a chain. "I can't go far from you," he said, voice shaking. "You know that." Lyara's jaw tightened. "Then stay behind me. I will hold them off." But she was weakening. Daniel could feel it. Her glow flickered every few seconds. Something was wrong. One pirate pointed his weapon at her. "Surrender, Healer. You belong to the Zephyrian Syndicate now. You were created for us." Lyra's entire body froze. Not because of fear, but because of the word created. Daniel felt shock crash through her memories, through her mind, through their bond. He saw flashes, dark chambers, glowing tubes, scientists, cloning pods, training drills, cold orders, no family, no love, no choice. She had never been born. She had been manufactured. Daniel's breath left his body in a cold rush. "Lyra, you were made for them?" Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "I did not know. I thought my purpose was healing. I did not know. It was ownership." A pirate laughed cruelly. "She doesn't know because we erased her memory. Royal healers are designed to bond only once, and only with their assigned master." Daniel felt something inside him burn, anger so hot. It felt like fire under his skin. "She's not property," he growled. The pirate aimed his weapon at Daniel. "You are nothing but a mistake. The bond was meant for a Zephyrian commander, not a human. You ruined our prize." Lyara's glow snapped back violently. Daniel felt her fury slash through him like lightning. She stepped forward, all four arms rising, her markings blazing. "You will not touch him," she said, voice trembling with rage. And something else, something protective and raw, like a vow. But the moment she moved, her glow flickered again, much worse this time. She staggered. The pirates noticed. Daniel noticed. The bond screamed inside his chest. Lyara collapsed onto one knee, gripping her ribs as if something inside her was breaking. Daniel felt the same pain rip through him, dropping him beside her. "Lyara," he gasped. "What's happening? What's wrong?" Her voice was weak, shaking. "The sacred vow. It is unfinished. My body is accepting you, but yours has not accepted me yet." She looked at him, eyes filled with fear. "If you do not return the vow, the bond consumes me." Daniel froze. Lyra wasn't weakening because of the pirates. She was weakening because of him. The vow he joked about had entered her biology instantly. But for humans, the process required conscious intention. She would die, unless he accepted her. And if she died, the bond would kill him too. Daniel grabbed her shoulders, pulling her close. He felt her heartbeat slipping, growing faint inside his chest. No, Lyra, stay with me. Stay awake." Lyra's eyes fluttered, her markings dimming like fading stars. "I did not want you to know the cost. I did not want you forced into a bond you never asked for. You did not choose me." Daniel swallowed hard, his chest burning with guilt. "I didn't know the words meant anything." "I know," she whispered. "That is why your vow was not complete. Your heart did not understand what you spoke." A pirate raised his weapon at Lyra's head. Daniel stood instantly, fueled by rage and the bond's energy. "You will not touch her." But his body trembled, weak, because Lyra was losing strength, and their lives were tied together. He knelt again, cupping her face gently. "Lyra, look at me," he said softly. "Tell me what I need to do." Her eyes met his, full of fear, full of hope, full of something fragile and beautiful. "You must choose," she whispered. "You must accept the bond willingly, not in fear, not in confusion, but with truth." Daniel felt the world quiet around them. The pirates, the alarms, the risk of death. None of it mattered. Only her. Lyra's voice trembled, barely audible. "Say the vow from your heart, or we both die." Daniel looked at her, truly looked, and for the first time, he understood how deeply she had already given her life to him. She wasn't asking to be owed. She wasn't asking for ownership. She was asking to be chosen. Daniel took a slow breath, leaned closer, and whispered the words that would decide their fate. But before he could speak, a pirate rushed forward and grabbed Lyara by the arm. Her scream echoed through the bond, ripping through Daniel's mind like a blade. And Daniel's world went red. The human who became her home. The moment the pirate grabbed Lyara's arm, something inside Daniel broke, not like a crack but like a star exploding. The bond surged, burning across his nerves, igniting every cell in his body. It wasn't pain anymore. It was fury. It was fear. It was something he had never felt with such intensity. Lyara screamed, her voice raw with shock and agony, and the sound tore straight into Daniel's heart through the bond, making the entire world blur in red light. "Let her go," Daniel roared, but his voice didn't sound like his own. It echoed, layered with a deeper, alien vibration. Lyara's fear blending with his rage, creating something powerful and terrifying. The pirate dragged her back, her tall frame stumbling, her glow fading fast. "The healer belongs to us," he snarled, pulling her toward the exit. Daniel collapsed for a second as Lyara's strength drained through the bond. Her life force was fading, and because of the incomplete vow, the bond pulled him down with her. He tasted blood. His vision shook. Every breath felt like fire in his lungs. If she died, he would die. If he died, she would die. There was only one way to save both of them. Daniel forced himself to stand. His legs shook violently, but something warm and bright wrapped around his heart, a pulse not his own. Lyara's pulse. Her heartbeat begging him not to give up, her emotions reaching for him through the bond. She believed in him. Even when she feared she wasn't worthy of being chosen, she still believed in him. Daniel took a step, then another, then another. The pirate turned, shocked. How are you moving?" Daniel wasn't moving by himself anymore. The bond was carrying him. Lyra's life force was pushing him forward. As he approached, another pirate aimed a weapon at Daniel, but Lyra, even in her weakened state, threw out one of her arms to shield him, taking the blast herself. Her body spasmed with pain, her markings dimming like dying embers. "Lyra!" Daniel shouted, voice cracking with agony. The bond felt like it was ripping apart. He couldn't take it. He couldn't lose her. He stood directly in front of her, cupping her face with both hands, letting the bond pull them so close that their breaths mixed. "Look at me," he whispered. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, dull and fading. "Daniel, I am failing. The vow was incomplete. My body cannot stabilize. I will dissolve. You must run." He shook his head fiercely. "I'm not leaving you. I'm not letting you die. You did not choose me, truly," she breathed, voice trembling with heartbreak. "I felt the hesitation in your soul." Daniel inhaled deeply, pulling her against him, feeling her weight, her warmth, her fear. He realized something then, that the hesitation wasn't because he didn't want her. It was because he didn't believe he deserved her. He was a broken explorer with a damaged ship and jokes, hiding his fear. She was a royal healer, created to save lives, created to be perfect. But in this moment, he didn't care about worthiness. He didn't care about destiny. He cared about her. "Lyra," he said, his forehead resting against hers, "I'm choosing you." Her breath caught, and the bond flared faintly. "I choose you," he repeated, louder now, with all the truth he held inside him. "Not because of the bond. Not because you saved me. Not because you're a royal healer. I choose you because you're strong and gentle and brave. I choose you because you protected me even when it hurt you. I choose you because you belong nowhere else but with me." The pirates froze, sensing the air charging with energy. Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper, the vow. "I belong to you, and you belong to me." Lyra gasped and the bond ignited. Not softly, not slowly, but violently, like two suns colliding. Light burst from their bodies, swirling silver and white, filling the entire corridor. The pirates screamed as the energy surged out like a shockwave, tossing them backward, slamming them into the walls with explosive force. Their weapons melted. Their armor cracked. The station shuddered, alarms going silent under the pressure of the bond's awakening. Daniel felt strength flow into him, not human strength. Lyra's strength. The strength of a royal healer fully bonded. Lyra rose slowly, her body glowing brighter than ever, her markings shining like stardust. Her forearms embraced Daniel from behind, steadying him as the energy around them spiraled like a living storm. Her voice was no longer weak, no longer fading. It echoed with ancient power. "The bond is complete." The shockwave pulsed again, sending the remaining pirates fleeing in terror, their voices cracking with fear. "It's impossible," one screamed. "No human can complete a royal bond." But Daniel wasn't listening. He was holding Lyra, and Lyra was holding him, breathing steady, glowing warm, alive. The bond settled inside both of them, powerful but calm, like a shared heartbeat that would never separate again. Lyra touched his cheek gently, her eyes soft and full of something deeper than gratitude. "My life is tied to yours forever," she whispered. "Where you go, I will follow. Daniel smiled, not as a joke, not as a shield, but as the truth of his heart. Well, he murmured, pulling her closer. I guess we really are married now. Lyra's markings brightened in a warm glow as she leaned her forehead against his. Yes, she whispered, and I will protect you, for every star we see. Together, they stepped forward, bonded, unstoppable. A human and an alien healer rewriting destiny with a vow that began as a joke but ended as the most powerful truth in the galaxy.